right, we're back.
We are back.
Yay. Should we, I guess we should introduce ourselves again. All right.
Sounds probably like a good idea.
All right, so who are you?
So my name's DJ. I'm your resident DJ.
Resident DJ, okay. What do you like to do? Like, what's your...
I like to DJ, JD, sometimes DD, all those sort of things. Anything with letters, really.
Okay, so letters. Particular D or J's.
Yes.
All right, cool.
What about you?
Okay, well, I'm Wolf.
Hello, Wolf.
And that's my little tag name, I guess. And what do I like to do? I like dumplings. I like to eat dumplings. They've got really good dumplings around here.
That's funny you say that, because I do know that about you. You're a bit of a dumpling man, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. In fact, I made a big post about it like just a couple of days ago, like talking about these dumplings that are allowed to say like the general area that we're in?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, well, yeah, this is just endorsing this place called Kung Fu Noodles. Really good dumplings there.
Really good dumplings.
Yeah, and the fried rice is pretty good too.
I'll tell you what, when you're on like a budget, just go in there grabbing a fried rice. Like, you're full after it. It's a big portion of fried rice.
It's a big portion, yeah. It's and it's not bad because it's like, I don't know, $10, $15 or something.
Yeah, it's mad. Support local business, love it.
Yeah.
Wolf, we're talking about film today.
Yeah, good.
Do you want to lead us into that?
Lead us into that. Okay. Well, we're talking about film in particular, history films, just because like it feels like a good topic for the week, since that's what I'm studying in uni at the moment, university up there at Callaghan. Hi guys. But anyway, we were talking about Gladiator and World War II movies. So like we're talking about the intentions behind those movies. We watched Gladiator together, didn't we?
We did.
How did you? What do you think the general theme of the movie was when you walked away from that? Like, what did you pick up on?
I would say there was a couple in there, honestly. A big one was about freedom and choice, I would say. You know what I mean? Like, so throughout the movie, I think, we see Maximus at the start, Russell Crowe, for those who don't know, throws a mean phone. He's a general. He's like this really awarded general. He's like the Emperor's favorite warrior, pretty much. He's conquered all this ground for the Emperor, and, he's to be celebrated when he finishes. But really what he wants to do is just go home and, make his, harvest his crops and live with his family. He doesn't want any more war. But as the movie goes on, obviously that changes drastically.
Yeah.
I think his struggle is, for me anyway, it was just he just wanted to see his family again. In the end, he accepted that would be an Elysium or whatever they call it. But he was a man driven by vengeance, I would say, in that area. Whether that's a righteous thing or not, who's to say? But it made for a damn good movie, I'll tell you that.
It did, and I would agree with that freedom is definitely the theme throughout that movie. I mean, the soundtrack is freedom.
Yep.
And like I even made this point when making my blog post for the assignment that I had to do of that opening shot where you see his hand hovering over some wheat fields. It's very bare.
Yep.
But there's something about it which, even the cinematography with the depth of field, like having it sort of like bare, but also, it's free. It's just doing what it wants, and it's like, but it's also in a way you feel like it's protected from something.
Yeah.
Like it's free, but it's also like. It's a moment, like in a movie that has a lot of, it's got slavery, it's got rape, it's got people dying and incest and all that sort of stuff. You have like this reoccurring theme of, I don't have to worry about that stuff now. Yay, I'm out here walking through wheat fields, and it's
having a great time
and all that sort of stuff. But but the interesting thing that I found about that movie is Marcus Aurelius's character, who's played by Dumbledore.
Yes.
I mean, well, what's his name?
Pull one out for our homie.
Yeah, that.
I can't remember the actor's name.
Yeah, I can't remember the actor's
OG
name.
Dumbledore.
OG Dumbledore is like he goes to Maximus and he's like, I kind of want you to be emperor because you seem to have the right idea. Like I want to bring Rome back to the glory days of being a republic. The thing that's interesting about that is the fact that Rome was never like at that point like Marcus Aurelius, like from historical tests, never wanted to be a republic.
I remember you saying that. Yes.
So like. We're looking at freedom through the lens of just, someone. That's the intent of the film, like just someone else's, like the filmmaker's interpretation of what freedom is.
Right, and that's a good point. I think that segues nicely into what you wanted to talk about. So, would you say that, obviously we're not going to say it's a historically accurate movie, right? Mm-hmm. Just for the reasons you put forward.
Yeah.
Would you say that? Changing those historical accuracies to better fit the narrative, do you think that has an intent beyond just being entertaining?
I kind of think it does.
Right.
And like I actually kind of look at that as kind of critically. Mm. I mean, when it comes to historical films like from thousands, like portraying like a world from thousands of years ago,
yeah.
I'm not saying for like filmmakers have to go through, look through the history text with a microscope and get everything right. But when it comes to the geopolitical stuff, I think they're best served getting that, being true to that, because that is stuff that does have, it does have lasting impact on society.
Agreed.
And while at the end of the day, it is just a movie. We know Maximus wasn't really a character that was back then. It's just a good underdog movie. It's a guy who goes from being the top general to being a slave and then fighting his way back up.
Yep.
Until eventually it gets to a point where and another thing done with the cinematography and the color filters and stuff. Whenever
good point.
Yeah. So whenever you see Russell Crowe's character, you see he's usually in a lot of yellows and. He's usually quite bare.
Orange, red.
Yeah.
Totally.
Very soft, very he's getting a bit of sun, he's even tanned at that point. Whereas...
Totally. You get to old mate, what's his name? Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah. He's always sort of in blue.
He looks like a vampire.
He looks like a vampire, exactly. Yeah. And even when they go to fight, not Maximus, Phoenix or Commodus, his character.
Commodus, sorry, yes.
He's just in all white.
Yeah.
And even reading through the history text, they said that was sort of on point, although apparently they're both naked.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, but there was definitely there was a lot of intentions just in the costuming of both. But the thing that I found kind of interesting is when. And of course, spoilers if you haven't seen the movie, but
also, what are you doing? It's 2024.
Yeah, it's been 20 years ago. But so when Russell Crowe dies, and then you you get the idea that he's joined Elysium, but then all of a sudden the color changes. It changes back to blues and whites, which is kind of I found that a little bit jarring. I'm not sure what the intention behind that was, because it was that was the theme that they were giving Commodus, you know what I mean?
So Commodus, he was typically shown as the kind of the blue-white colours, and then you see Maximus enter Elysium, and then all of a sudden that colour palette's now using to refer to him. It was a bit of a...
Yeah, it was, I suppose, there's that quote that I think Marcus Aurelius made, or it's said a few times throughout the film where, we're all going to die one day. All we can do in the face of death is when he smiles at us, smile back.
I like that.
And I think that was supposed to be just so we're all going to die one day, and maybe it was just the film's way of saying, oh well, look, we're all equal now. So it doesn't really matter the color palette or what it looks like. It's
that's an interesting observation. Because I kind of thought about it myself as well. It's does that symbolize kind of divinity, the afterlife? Do you know what I mean? That kind of Commodus saw himself as almost like a god. Do you know what I mean? He saw himself like that.
Yeah.
So are we looking at this kind of Commodus's view of himself and kind of at how he projects himself to others, how he wants others to see him? But we see Russell Crowe at the end achieve actual divinity. You know, a man who died and descended to his family.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah. I didn't really think of it that way. I was kind of a bit jarred. It was kind of like, I guess it was sort of implying that, Maximus, or Russell Crowe's character, he sort of like ended up having the best of both worlds. Because I remember when he dies, it was him everyone just sort of picked up and
that's right,
regarded as
the people loved him.
Yeah. Whereas Commodus was just sort of there.
Yeah, that's right.
It was just. That's what I guess when it comes to things like freedom and stuff like that, it goes back to that philosophical thing. It's like freedom has a price, where either you have to do terrible things to attain it, or do terrible things to attain what Commodus's idea of what freedom is, or you have to just fight your way there.
Because I guess he felt kind of enslaved by his father in a way. You know what I mean? He felt he was living in his father's shadow, that he knew he was never going to live up to that vision, I guess, that Marcus had for a son.
Yeah.
Because Marcus he refers to Maximus as the son that he didn't have. Quite clearly, despite the fact that he has a son.
And also that story of someone realizing, hey, if I just kill this dude, I would be king.
Yeah.
And who's gonna be able to dispute that?
Yeah.
That's actually a common story that's played throughout. And I suppose just using gamer terminology here.
Okay.
So I was talking to someone the other day where a lot of the Final Fantasy games, like the re-releases of the remasters of older games that they've put on other platforms and whatnot, there's always a function now where you just press a button and it gives you the best stats and you can just own every boss and all that sort of stuff. I've never liked that because it takes away the challenge.
Totally.
And I was having a debate with someone whether or not that's cheating. And they were saying, oh well, it's not really cheating if if the developers have allowed something like that to happen.
Right.
Well, it's this is sort of related to what we're talking about, but but it's still even if it's technically not cheating, I'm still going to have far more respect for the person who did the thing legitimately rather than someone who's just pressed the button.
Yeah.
And, it's fair enough if you just want to enjoy the story and all that sort of stuff, but. But anyway, that's maybe going back to Gladiator.
Yeah.
It's Maximus is the one that had to actually fight against lions.
Yes.
And, dudes, they've got this big helmet lion silver thing.
There's a dude with a fucking minotaur head on.
And having 1,000 tigers pop out of the ground, and had to just get a bunch of these slaves together to work together to try and survive the best they can.
Yep.
And but also you see that's impressive. Not just this dude who suffocated Dumbledore.
Yeah, that's right.
Private chambers and was
and all that stuff aside as well. Before that, I mean, Maximus is literally a war hero. Not only is he a war hero, he's a humble farmer when he goes home. Do you know what I mean? He's salt of the earth. I think that's a big definition between, a big distinction between the two, right? And going back to the colour grading, I mean, and the costuming, you even see Maximus, he's dirty. He's got dirt on his hands. He's got dirt on his face. He's got ripped clothing and stuff like that because he's actually in it. Bloody Commodus, every time he come out, he's immaculate. His hair's immaculate.
Yeah.
His clothes are immaculate. He's never seen a day's work. I think that's really clever.
Well, he had, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but he kind of has.
Right.
But he's sort of, he's still, but he's doing it from, the kind of, the politics of, he's just working behind the shadow. Like he's a politician in a sense.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But the thing that I'm being critical of it though is the fact that back then that's not something that, say, Marcus Aurelius would have opposed at that time.
Right.
And
okay.
also, during that time, Commodus at that time would have been like 12 years old.
Yes.
So it's not like he would have had a huge amount of influence at that point.
Right,
anyway.
okay. Still a boy.
It's still a boy, yeah. And so, like, that's when we go back to intention, where it's like, it's Ridley Scott's intention to, like, you know, push an agenda of going, this is what freedom is.
Yes.
It's being in a republic. It's basically Rome. Turn back into America.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I see what you're getting at now.
Yeah. And like this is a bit of segue going into like other history films such as like World War II film. I just finished watching Kokoda, and and I've seen little bits of the other films like what's it called? Letters to Jima.
Oh, Iwo Jima, yeah.
Iwo Jima, yeah. And those two films, like really, really good, but good for different reasons.
Right.
One, like, Kokoda was good in that it did a really good job. Like, the opening shot where all you see, it's almost opens up like a documentary, right?
Okay.
Because, you know, it's a real thing that happened.
100%.
And so, but... Like, so I will get... So I hope I'm not talking over the top of you, but I will get to...
No, not at all. Please.
I will get to, like, the point that I'm trying to get to. But, so it opens up... You just see a map of Australia, and it works up from Melbourne, which is an odd place to start with, because it's like... Kokoda's, like, in Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, what are you doing there? But, like, but the intention behind that is to go, okay... Holy shit, like, is this where the Japanese are trying to get to? I live there. I live in Melbourne. I live in Sydney and Brisbane and Cairns. Like... Jesus, and like they're just there.
Very close.
Very close.
I see what you're saying.
And then like the voiceover is saying, you know, America's over, like, not even war yet. Like you've got our soldiers in Tobruk, like they're far away. Like we're exposed. All we've got is these farm boys that just like, you know, they don't know what they're doing pretty much.
Yep.
And they have to fight against the Japanese army, the army that's been undefeated, like have made staggering progress.
Pretty ruthlessly,
yeah. But the other thing, so like the cinematography, like they do a sort of what I call the Dr. Claw effect, where you don't really see the Japanese army. Like they're sort of like always in shadow, always like even when they're up close, like you never see their faces. Like the depth of field is like everything's out of focus except for one shot that I really thought was good was the baronet, and all you see in focus is like the knife from the baronet.
The bayonet,
and they stab the dude. And it's just like, man, it's brutal.
Yeah, that's brutal.
But the criticism that I have of that is the intention behind that, because it's like when you're watching it, you almost feel like, okay, it starts off like documentary-esque,
right?
If that makes sense.
Yep.
But it goes from being a documentary to more of just a sensationalized thing of,
right?
You know, like black and white. They're the bad guys. We're the good guys.
Yep.
And we want to fight them off.
That's it. Yeah.
Whereas letters to what's it called?
Letters to Iwo Jima.
Iwo Jima, it does a better job of, like, yes, they're the opposing army. They did do a lot of fucked up things, but remember, like, they're just people too. You know, they're just people.
True.
Like, they just happen to be in this situation. And I loved what they did there with one scene where, like, the Japanese are like, okay, we're fucked.
Yeah.
And so they just kamikaze themselves because they were so steeped in honor.
Yeah.
But the way that it's done is like the color grading is so, it's almost as if it was like black and white, and the people were there like they're just freaking out and they're just letting off these grenades and just letting themselves die.
That's crazy.
And what I loved about that is the fact that they don't glorify the horror aspect of it. It's like you see what happens, but it's like it's done and dusted. It's like we're not getting like these mad close-ups or
no slow-mo and
and I feel like when it comes to that sort of stuff, when it's more, I suppose, modern history, that's when you really want to be careful about your intentions behind what you're doing, because, like, I suppose, like, when it comes to discussions about war and
Yes.
stuff like that, I mean, this might sound a bit propaganda of me,
Please
but
indulge.
the thing is, I strongly believe intention is important because we want to be reminded of war to remind us, to not do that again.
Yeah.
Because we kind of want to avoid that.
100%.
We don't want to. We don't want wars to break out needlessly because, I don't know. It's just. That's why I do get super critical of history films that sort of are very, where you can see that they're trying to push an agenda that's quite harmful.
Right.
Like Birth of a Nation. That's an example of a film that's definitely terrible for its racism.
Right.
It's.
Do you want to talk a bit more about that?
Well, we did go briefly at the uni today, but
Yep.
it's just that's an example of how some people in film will use their film as a propaganda tool to. It's basically it's about the KKK,
Right.
and why it was necessary throughout history for.
It was necessary.
Yeah, it was
Holy
necessary,
moly.
and even in you have.
Wow.
White dudes playing as black people,
I've never heard of this film. I don't like that at all.
It's basically it's a KKK film. It's
Wow.
It's fucked. Yeah.
What year was this made?
Years ago. Probably 1930s or something like that,
Yeah,
or maybe
okay.
even earlier. So it's not
Right.
it was just came out kind
Yep.
of thing. But that's and even during World War II, you have some those give credit where credit's due. So you've seen those shots of Hitler, when he's doing his speech and stuff, and
I have.
the cinematography of that is spot on.
Leni Riefenstahl.
Yeah, Bill Wartz, the guy who created History of the Entire World, I guess. Really good video. He wasn't exaggerating when he referred to Hitler as an angry mustache model.
Seriously?
Because that's what he did. He used. He had people who were really good at things like cinematography and filmmaking to propagate that he's this big, powerful being with this vision that.
One of the most famous Nazi propaganda films is called Triumph of the Will.
Yeah, we literally went over that today, actually.
It was shot and directed by Leni Riefenstahl, and the whole thing was pretty much just to glorify the Nazi regime and Hitler as a larger-than-life leader figure.
Yeah, which is still gets done today.
100%.
I would argue though that it might be less effective today because now people have phones.
True. Everyone can film.
Anyone can film. So when a conflict breaks out, it's not as media outlets aren't as
That's true.
able to. Well,
I mean, there is still the mainstream media narrative, but then we can also, with a bit of digging, you can see people that are actually living those moments. You can see it with Ukraine and Russia, with Palestine and Israel. We can see people that are living those things, footage emerging, that's kind of directly contradicts the mainstream narrative. So, I'd argue that, the fact that everyone can now film is kind of an equalizer in the sense that once upon a time, talking about Leni Riefenstahl, only rich people could film, really. Only rich people could make these propaganda pieces, but now everyone's got a camera. Everyone's got a phone.
A really famous, well, not famous, but I really like the quote from this YouTuber called Sean. Are we able to link these people in?
Yeah, we'll put the links down the bottom.
Of these people because they're worth checking out.
Yep.
Who said the lies, the truth is coming out before their lies are settling in.
Okay.
So although that might change with AI stuff maybe, but
that shit scares me. That's a whole other topic.
That's another topic.
But, we'll get there.
but nothing can dispute the fact that you can see Israeli soldiers using just civilians as meat shields to walk through a place,
strapping them to their cars.
Not to mention you could say things about Hamas that are they've done.
Of course.
Yeah,
Hamas
but
is not perfect. I just don't equate Hamas to Palestine.
neither do I. But like even then, there's a fair few quantifiable evidence. I mean, we might cut this part out if it turns out to be false. But as far as I know, there's quite a bit of evidence to suggest that the October 26th attack last year, Israel knew that was going to happen months before it happened.
I think people have been talking about that kind of since the start. Actually, they were aware that it was.
Yeah, but not only that. So like,
I think the US actually warned them that there was an impending terror attack.
And not like they pretty much orchestrated it. So like, so the report was like 1,200 people died. So
Jesus.
there's 700 of those people were targeted by Israelis. So like they targeted their own citizens by doing that. And not to mention, like the rest were people who were there were, I think another 300 were Hamas members that were killed, and the rest was crossfire.
Wow.
So it's like
that's a tragedy.
Yeah, exactly. But it's something that could totally have been avoided.
Yeah.
And the whole reason for that operation is like, yeah, they were going to go in there and take some hostages, but the purpose for that was like, hey, look, we're going to do this for some of our land back.
Yeah.
And this is the length that Israel went to push back on that. It's like, holy shit! Like
not the first time.
They don't care about Israelis. They don't care about friends that you might have there that you've had general connections. Anyway, sorry.
No. And we'll just put this clear before anybody wants to just jump in. Being critical of the Israeli government and their actions in Palestine does not equate to anti-Semitism.
No.
Absolutely not. If you want to be a goober and say that, go away.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's just I'll fight it. But yeah, it was.
We'll leave that in.
Yeah. It was a good sound effect. But so like yeah, I can say things critical of my own government. I mean,
of course,
the way we treat refugee asylum seekers is pretty horrible.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Like for decades now, like they've got these people that have just been living on this island that have just been undergoing all kinds of abuse. Like that's the nation that I come from.
Totally. Tony Abbott was a total spineless coward about it as well. He didn't even want to address the things properly, and I'm glad the man is not in office anymore. Yeah,
but like he's actually he passed a law to make it illegal for any whistleblower to speak out against that kind of stuff. It's
absolute draconian shit.
Yeah. It doesn't like how would that in any way stop the boats? Like, why? Why would they? Like,
because if I don't hear about it, it's not happening.
Yeah, especially like, anyway, like that's going back to film or whatever.
Yes, of course.
Talking about freedom or whatnot.
Yep.
Like that's why like I feel like now like intention is important. Like it might sound a bit propaganda-ish of me for saying that.
No. I think after what you've just said, it's you're talking about kind of an agenda of film and the filmmakers as well. I think it is important, and it's important to recognise that whether it's kind of apparent or not, there is some agenda generally of the creator sneaking in there. It might be glaring in your face, or it might be little. I'm not saying this for every film, of course, but especially for films that surround such a controversial topic as war. I mean, what's that old saying? Like, history is written by the victors.
Yeah, like someone said that today, actually.
And that's totally true, man. So that's why I think it's important that we have more media, more content, kind of taking a more expositional approach and just presenting it for what it was. Not heroes, not bad guys, not winners, not losers. Hey, this is a conflict that happened in human history. How did we get here? What happened during it? What happened after it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting. Would you say that you felt like, Hacksaw Ridge or the Kokoda Trail, do you think they had quite a glaring agenda?
Well, Hacksaw Ridge, yeah. Like that was made by Mel Gibson, and
okay.
yeah, I mean he definitely has outed himself as someone who's not progressive.
No.
You know,
No.
even like we actually watched a scene from Hacksaw Ridge today.
Yep.
It was just like the start of the film was quite funny.
Yep.
Like, you know, with him lined up, with the dudes lined up, and like,
You were saying, yeah.
what's the actor's name? Like he was in Dodgeball, the Colonel. I forget his name.
Is that
The main character, not Ben Stiller.
like the dude like in the wheelchair? Like,
No.
Dodger Wrench?
The main character in Dodgeball. Like
Vince Vaughn?
yeah.
Vince Vaughn.
Yeah. He, like, you know, it was well cast. He's in
Yeah.
it, and you know, Andrew Garfield and some other dude who was
Andrew
naked.
Garfield, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I haven't seen it.
But there's one scene where, like, just before the end, where, so, like, the Colonel gets Andrew Garfield's character, who's just a private, just to walk halfway up a hill and just pray.
Right.
Pray to Jesus or something.
Okay.
And then he goes back, and then they're like, okay, well, let's give them hell, and they just go over the field and they just kill all these Japanese people, and it's just so sensationalized, just
Yeah.
like dudes on fire, just like it's like
Americanisms.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like this is a Mel Gibson film.
Yeah.
It's just. And the reason they won is because Andrew Garfield prayed to Jesus, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe
probably.
Because Mel Gibson is
It's always got some religious thing with Mel Gibson.
Passion of
doesn't
the Christ. Which, my God, playing that role would definitely boost your ego.
100%. 100%.
You could literally say, "I was Jesus."
I was
Anyway.
Jesus. Yeah.
But yeah, so what was the question?
Yeah, like what the did you think that there was a glaring agenda? And, I
Well,
mean, yeah,
Hacksaw Ridge definitely.
portraying the Americans as those kind of heroic, riding into battle, kicking ass sort of. You know,
yeah.
I'm sure the reality was a lot more somber than that. You know what I mean? I'm sure it wasn't.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like it wasn't as black and white as that. With Kokoda, I don't think the agenda was quite like. I don't think there was intent to make it about necessarily like that Japanese people are bad people or like we're superior or anything. It was just. I feel like the purpose of that film was to really get you an idea of just the situation they're in. I mean, like the threat, and also like just like an idea of like how far like the Japanese had gotten at that point, because it would have been quite scary. I mean, like with the advances they already made, like the advances was just as staggering as the Germans.
Yep.
Like they took over the entire East.
Yep.
We're bordering on India even at that point.
Yes.
So
Yes.
like the idea, like all we had was, just farmers.
Yep.
Just like so. Yeah, I don't think the intention behind that was necessarily like again that Japanese were like the enemy or the enemy, but like not necessarily that the Japanese people are bad. It was just like that would have been. Like it really gave you a feel of being there and living the experiences that these guys were living.
Yeah, right.
Because like probably my favorite part of that film was when because most of the actors in that film like are people that you've never heard of, like were quite new to acting. But right at the end, like they had I forget the actor's name, but it was a well-known actor during the time.
Yep.
And I think he was playing the role of MacArthur, who was one of the prominent generals, Australian generals of World War II.
Right.
And he goes there and he gives a speech. And the speech that he gave is actually the exact words of what that colonel said to them during that time.
Yeah, I like that.
And I thought that was a really good, that was really made it feel authentic.
Yes.
So I think the intention behind that film was just to help you get like a very like authentic is a good word, like a good authentic feel of being there and amongst it, and like and I think that's powerful, and but Hacksaw Ridge was just Mel Gibson being drunk, I guess. But like having said that though, Letters to Jemima.
Jemima.
Is
Mouthful, that one.
Yeah, it is a bit. That was good because it was like, that was, well, the intention behind that film was to show the humanity on each side, like whether you're Japanese or...
Yes.
And I think that's important, but also, like, I think if the intention is to give you a sense of fear and without necessarily sensationalizing what's happening, that's important too, because like it psychologically gives you a feeling of, let's try and keep it cool, and that's why we've been in a Cold War for the past, I don't know. Well, I mean, some people, like, you would argue that the Cold War has ended, but North Korea,
but did it really?
Yeah,
We've been in proxy wars with Russia ever since, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I say we, but America.
Yeah, I mean, it's just anyway. That's good stuff. yeah.
Anyway, look, I think that was a great first episode back, bro. Thanks for talking to me. And I guess you guys listening, you can expect a lot more content from us regularly now.
Yeah.
We've got a day locked in, we've got the equipment set up, and we're just going to talk about things each week, We're just going to talk about whatever Wolf wants to talk about, and hopefully you guys enjoy listening.
Yeah. Or whatever we want to talk about.
Yeah, whatever comes up,
and leave us suggestions of what you want to talk about as well.
100%, and we'll put any relevant links in the description below.
Yes.
All right, I guess that's it. Peace.
Yeah, peace. All right.